My name's Penny and welcome to Penelope's Chinwag. A great welcome to you all. The party's getting bigger and I have some lovely new friends that are watching, and I'd like to say hello to everyone. This week it's about, well, I'll show you what's on my crafting table. I'll read you the next part of my story, and I'm going to have a little chat now. There's a little film, little bits along the way, and that's it. That's it. So yesterday, I have to start with what's on my mind. And what's on my mind is yesterday I found myself sitting with my quilting, lovely, relaxing. I couldn't wait to get it finished because I'm already thinking the next project I want to do. I want to do a double wedding ring quilt. I want to cut all the little bits out and, oh yeah, I can't wait to start. But, I'm a processor. That means I don't have lots of things on the go. So I finish one thing, and when it's finished, I'll start another thing. But I can't wait to start this double wedding ring. And I also thought, I can't wait to show you what I've been doing. Hurry up. What is the hurry? There is no hurry. Just do it when I'm ready. Yeah, but I'm ready now. I want to do it all now. And so my brain was going off like fireworks. Does that ever happen to you? I think it's over enthusiasm, do you? Because I just needed to slow down. I mean, actually, I was sitting in the chair. My needle was going up and down. And then after a little while of doing that, I picked my knitting up. I've said it before. I'll then do a bit of knitting. Of course, I've got real life to contend with too. So it's not, I've been to the opticians this morning. I walked there and back in the glorious sunshine that we've got in the southeast of England, because that's where I live, on the coast, and it was gorgeous. Anyway, what's the hurry? I don't need to hurry. Do you ever feel like that? Sometimes we're so sluggish. Well, I am. I can't get anything done. And other times, I can't stop doing things. So yeah, it's a bit like that, isn't it? A bit like that. And what's his name? Samuel Plimsoll always comes to mind. He is always the one that helps me. Have you heard of Samuel Plimsoll? I have talked about him in my previous episodes, but I thought as a lot of you are new, you might like to hear it. He might help you. Well, he was born on the 10th of February in 1824. 1824. So it's going back, isn't it? And he was a British politician and social reformer. However, in his early life, he was born in Bristol, and he wanted to be a coal merchant, but it didn't work out. And at one point he became penniless. Well, destitute really, they say. And he himself told how for a time he lived in a common lodging for 7 shillings and 2pence. Through this experience he learned to sympathise with the struggles of the poor, and when his good fortune returned, he resolved to devote his time to improving their condition. And one thing that really bugged him was what were called coffin ships. And coffin ships were ships that were very highly insured, but unseaworthy and overloaded. So really, you see, the unscrupulous owners didn't mind if they sunk. Yeah, but hang on a minute, what about the crew? The unscrupulous owners didn't worry about the crew. In 1867, Plimsoll was elected as the Liberal Member of Parliament for Derby, and he campaigned to have this changed. He really wanted to help the seamen of the time. He had a few words in the House of Parliament, you know, with Benjamin Disraeli, but he apologised. That's a good lesson too, because he was in the right, but he apologised for the sake of peace, and they resumed talks. But a lot of people shared his view. They'd heard his view, and so they lobbied and they pressured and they stifled these ship owners. And the popular feeling forced the government to pass a bill in 1876. And it's still there now. The Board of Trade could inspect the ship. And what the ship had, it had Plimsoll's mark or line. Every ship has that now. Plimsoll Line it's called. And that's what helps me. That helps me with the old, you know, with my thoughts. Oh dear. It's a loading line mark, and I'm going to put the mark up here and you'll see what the Plimsoll line is. It's a reference mark located on a ship's hull that indicates the maximum depth to which the vessel may be safely immersed when loaded with cargo. This depth varies with the ship's dimensions, type of cargo, time of year, and the water densities encountered in port and at sea. Once these factors have been accounted for, a ship's captain can determine the appropriate Plimsoll line needed for the voyage to make it safe. We've got tropical, freshwater, summer, winter, North Atlantic, and it's found midship on both the port and starboard hulls of cargo vessels and is still used worldwide by the shipping industry. What a great guy. Imagine how many lives he saved. And I use this Plimsoll line to think about what waters I'm sailing through. Is it winter? Is it summer? Am I in tropical waters? Or am I up there in Canadian waters where it's very cold and very rough? Well, I had this flu for about 3 weeks. And, well, I didn't have it for 3 weeks. I had it for a week. And the Plimsoll line, well, I was in Canadian waters then, and it was winter, so I stayed in bed. The next week, I pottered. It was still winter. It was still Canadian waters, but I took a bit of cargo off my boat, so I didn't do what I normally do. I didn't go shopping. I didn't go out, actually. I pottered, and so I didn't load my boat up to the full limit, and that meant I sailed pretty smoothly through that week. The next week of feeling poorly, well, I was feeling better, but it was the residue of it. My friend came to stay. Oh, summer waters. But if I loaded that boat up a lot, I knew I would go back to square one. So I didn't load the boat. There wasn't much on the boat at all. We just sat and crafted up here. We chatted. We went down in the afternoons and Pete cooked us dinner. And it was a nice rest for the both of us. And yeah. Then, of course, I felt better. Well, not of course, but I did. I felt better. And what did I start doing? Loading up the boat. I must get this done to show you. I must get it done so I can, you know, I want to get on with the... I'm overloading the boat. Whoa, stop. In fact, last week, I had a couple of days, a couple of lovely days, different days. And that really, yeah, that floated my boat, shall we say that? I was tired the next day. After that couple of days of busy and doing, I was tired. So what did I do? Nothing really. Honestly, just sat in the peace and quiet, thought my thoughts, and did some crafting. Had a quiet day. So I watched the Plimsoll Line. What kind of waters am I going through? Is it winter, summer? Is it, rough seas? Is it tropical seas? And I load the boat so the mark is the right place. If I overload it, down the ship will go. Yeah, so there we are. I've been looking at the Plimsoll Line, and that all came from, what is the hurry? I'm listening on audio to a Bill Bryson book, and he's going through the house, all the different rooms, right from the beginning of time, really, up until today. And I found this interesting. Do you ever say, I haven't made the beds? Why do we say make a bed? And that's because when people didn't have beds, they had to make their bed, get a palliasse and stuff it with straw and literally make their bed. And then that would be, disassembled the next morning. And then the next night when it was bedtime, they'd make their bed up again from straw and lay on the floor. And that's why we say, I'm going to make the beds. I've often wondered that. In the Middle Ages, that's what you did. You fashioned whatever comfort you could. And then, oh yes, chests. They had chests at about this time we're talking about. And it takes a lot to delve into a chest, doesn't it? In the 1600s, that's what they had. But they decided to turn it on its side. And they invented drawers. They put drawers in the chests because then you could pull it out and see what was in each drawer. Chest of drawers. That's where that came from. And then in the hall, he said that's where you made your bed and slept, or that's where you ate. And when it was time for the eating, because the beds had been cleared away, you took a board that was hanging on hooks on the wall, a board, and then you sat with that board on your lap. When it wasn't in use, it was hung back on the wall, but when it was in use, it was perched on the diner's knee when the food was served. Well, over time, it wasn't just a dining service, but the meal itself, which is where the board comes from, in room and board. Yeah. Board and lodging. It comes from this room, this board. Lodgers are called boarders. And why an honest person who keeps his hands visible at all time is above board? We get chairman of the board because in 1600, chairs were quite rare. And if there was the one person who sat on the chair, head of the table, if you like, head of the board, yeah, chairman of the board. And we still say that today, don't we? Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Had it in my head. So I feel better now. Thanks for sharing. So we'll go over now and we'll have a look and see what's on my crafting table. Okay, first of all, I had in my stash, I've been telling you for quite a few weeks now, I had this alpaca and silk 4-ply. Beautiful it is. Artisano, yeah, Artisano. And as you know, I thought, oh, I don't want to do another fine woolly. So I teamed it up with some, it was in my local wool shop. What is it? I'll get it. Here it is. Adriafil, same make. No, this is Artisano. So this is Artisano, this is Adriafil. But Adriafil is beautiful too. So I'm putting the two together. And I'd done the round the neck, and then I got this, flu bug thing, and I didn't have any brain power left. Well, there's not too many cells there anyway, probably, but well, you know what I mean. You need brain power for separating because I'm not, I've always done things bottom up, and now I'm starting to do things top down. And so for me, taking the sleeves, dividing, that's the word, dividing for the sleeves and the body, it just takes me a little bit of brain power. So I needed to wait for that to come, and it came. I knew it was there, but I just couldn't access it with the flu. Anyway, I'll show you what I've done. Done quite a bit. I'm quite pleased. I like it. I kept humming and ahhing, do I like it, do I not? But now, of course, it's easy. I'm just going round and round. So there it is, coming along. It's got this pattern on the top. And then I've divided for the sleeves, as you can see, because you have to keep this raglan going. Well, is it raglan? I don't know. Increasing there. That's it. That's the increasing. And I'm down to here. So doing well. And it has got a side little pattern on the side, which I have got the hang of now. At the beginning, I kept thinking, oh, is it forward or back? But now, of course, I can tell. There's the pattern on the side. I didn't stress too much about that. I thought if it's not quite right, it's not quite right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right on the night. So there we are. That's the front. And the sleeves have got a pattern all the way down. So I will need my head on for that. It's got that pattern that goes all the way down the sleeve. Yeah, it's going to be nice, I think. Yeah. Pop that away. You're going to ask me what the pattern is, and it is Fairy Bouquet by Joanna Ang. Sorry, Joanna Ang. And you can see the pattern that goes right down the sleeve, and that one on the yoke. I'm pleased. That's coming along well. I've got something else on my craft table, and that's a photo of my dad. What a funny thing to have on the table. But it's to remind me that I need to do it. We have a lovely framing shop in our town, beautiful art shop that does beautiful framing. Been there ever since I've been here. We moved here from London in 1984, so it's a good while now. And it's one of my dad, and I've had it on the top of my bookcase, or whatever it is. And I thought, this is too precious now to have out. I need to have it framed and have some special glass put on so that it won't fade. Because when you think, my dad was born in 1926, and that equals 100 years next year. And when you say it like that, that's quite a lot, isn't it? And here he is as a little boy. This is his brother, Eddie, but this is my dad. And this is the photograph. As you can see, it's been very worn. The back of it's very old. I'm going to keep the oldness. I don't want to move, change that, but I want it properly framed. So that's on my craft table to do. So when I walk into town next, that's coming with me. Okay, what else have I got? Hooray, I finished my sock. You know, I demonstrated how I knit my socks. There's 150 different ways of knitting a sock. And you need to find your way. Well, you've probably found your way. But a lot of people hadn't and asked me. And so that's been quite a success. Had quite a lot of views. I'm really pleased. And people have messaged me now and said, oh, I've knitted a sock and I'm so pleased. And I'm so pleased that I could have helped you. Anyway, I did the one sock pigeon by West Yorkshire Spinners. This is for my son-in-law. And I've finished the next sock. All I've got to do is sew the top together. It's finished. I just got to literally, let me take those needles away, just literally got to graft those 2 rows of stitches with the Finchley graft I use because it's so easy, and it's done. We have matching socks. There's the heels. People say, what size shoe are you knitting for? I've no idea. I take the measurement from the back of the heel down to the toe. I take 2 inches off for the toe, back of the heel to the toe, then take 2 inches off, and that's my measurement. So I'm pleased to say that's going to take me 10 minutes, and that's finished. So, good progress. I've got the little matinee jacket. Do you remember? Tommy, my great-grandson, is going to have a cousin. I don't know that side of his family. It's his daddy's side. But I knitted this for baby. As I say, I don't know them, but I do know that his great-nanny Angela, I think it's great-grandma Angela, she adores Tommy, and she has him, she's looked after him quite a lot. She loves him as much as I do, and she loves babies, and she's got silver cross prams that they go out in, and it's lovely. And I could just see the little one later in the year. She's due next month, sitting up in her silver cross pram, probably in the autumn. What do you think? It's a nice pattern. I did tell you the pattern. I'll see what episode it was that I showed you, because you're bound to ask. I've got a little nail that's catching. And then I made the quilt. Remember, I showed you that finish last time. And I know that it has inspired, well, quite a few of you, because I said, if you haven't ever done a quilt, this is the panel, and you just sandwich it together with the wadding and the backing and go round the design. It doesn't have to be small stitches. I think bigger stitches are quite fashionable now. And then I had some, just some fabric in my stash that I thought went. Yeah, it just had the right colours in it. And somebody has said they've sent, well, I think a couple of people have said they've sent off for the panel, and they're doing it. So I'm really pleased. I think my daughter's one of them. Anyway, so that's on here, ready to pack up and get ready to send. I'll show you the William Morris. It wasn't that long ago I started this, but because I was poorly, I sat up in bed and I just did all my little bits, you know, put the bits together, hand quilting, hand piecing, as we call it. And it came together well. I've got 2 pieces of fabric here. That's going to be the binding. This quilt is for my granddaughter, and her favourite colour is yellow. And I thought that went quite well with the quilt and this, because a dominant colour in the quilt is blue. So I'm going to make a little flange that you can just see like that, and that'll be on the quilt and the binding. So this is going to be the binding, and I'm going to do a little flange just so you see the blue. So that's on my table, and Here's the quilt, all so much together. So that's how much I've done. Those 2 lines. I'll show you the other side. What does that look on the other side? I've gone for a plain cream on the other side, and then that looks like that. So quite simple again. Sit with it on your lap. Go round in the ditch, we call it. So you've got that as your guide. Stitch in the ditch, in the ditch, in the ditch. I did my running across, so it was anchored, and then I just went up and down. And that's what it looks like on the back. So that's what the back will look like, all hand quilted. Then, do you remember I had another group of fabrics that I want to make a quilt for somebody who shall remain nameless at the moment, but it's a friend of a friend. I don't know her, but anyway, I'll tell you when it's finished. And I'm getting on quite well with it. I suddenly thought, it was brain power again that was needed, and I wanted to work out how I was going to use the fabrics. And honestly, if you're looking for an easy quilt to do, you couldn't get easier than this. I cut out 9-inch squares. Well, you need 1/4 inch for each seam, so that means the blocks land up at 8.5 inches. And I'll show you how I put them together very simply. I think it's going to be quite effective. I'm going to have to take a photo to show you. So I staggered them. Let me show you row 2. There's row 2, squirrel. And how am I going to quilt it, I thought. So I've done, don't know if you can see, I've done 2 circles, one outer. It's like looking through a telescope or binoculars. The light's not very good. I've got a line there and then an inner line. I'll take a photo and show you. It's quite hard. There's the circles, 2 circles. There's the circles. And then just gone round the outside of the squares. I think the next one is swans. Yes, you can see that nicely there. So it looks like binoculars. And then that one's the plain one. I'll take a photo and show you it in its entirety. I'll say cheerio from the craft table and see you when I'm sitting in my comfy chair. I hope you enjoyed what I'm working on. And last week I said I went out for a couple of days and I went to see my brother. My brother lives in Ireland and we don't have passports, and Pete's not really up to now travelling, getting on a plane or anything like that. And he came over to England, which was superb. I couldn't believe it was last February that I saw him. I think he came and visited Pete when he was just out of hospital. And so we met him in London. And then my brother he goes to a club in England, and you're not allowed to take photos. No phones allowed, which is quite nice actually. People want to sit there and know they're not going to be photographed. And so I said to Pete, could you take a photo of Chrissy and me outside? How do you work it? How do you do it? So I was looking a bit startled, but never mind. I think my brother's looking quite proud. I don't know. It was just a super, super day. It really was. We sat and we chatted and we didn't rush. In fact, Pete said, can we get a later train? I'm enjoying myself so much. And on the train coming home, honestly, what a beautiful evening. It was about 5:30, 5:45, just losing light, but the sun was going down. And the photograph, oh, it was just such a gorgeous view out of the window. So there's some photos of that. And then the next day, my youngest grandson, who is 25 in August, he texted me and said, can I come and see you tomorrow, Nan? I said, okay. And we had a nice reminisce. And, oh, that reminds me, he showed me how to do something. And my Aunt Anne in Ireland had said that she's getting adverts on the video. And I don't monetize my channel because I don't want you getting adverts. And she said she'd got them. So I was telling Harry this, and he said, oh, Nan, hang on. And he had a look, and he said, if you just do the knob, click it off, you can turn off that you allow adverts. So they were putting adverts up, even though I'm not monetized. So if you do have any adverts, will you let me know? Because it's something I need to sort out with YouTube. Anyway, so he looked into that for me, and then I said, come on, let's go out for lunch. So we went out to the little Italian restaurant we like. So there's a couple of photos of Harry and Pete chatting. The sun was coming in through the window of the restaurant, so they're not very good, but something I want to treasure. So shall we go over and listen to the next bit of my story? Well, can you remember where we stopped? I had to look it up. I was talking to you about the elocution lessons that I went and I had at school, and they were one of my favourite lessons, really. Anyway, we'll carry on. So I've just started at Palmer's Green High School, and I was there until I left school. I wasn't quite 16. I was 16 August the 8th, and I left in the, July. So that was that. So this is my last bit of schooling, although I did go on to college after that. So let's carry on. Oh yes, do you remember I told you in a previous episode how, well, I'll read it. In sewing class one day, we had to bring in a chocolate box. I took in a black magic box with drawers that had been full of chocolates. Well, I suppose it would have been, wouldn't it? You can see where my edit needs to happen here, but I'm not worrying about that. I've written this for myself, and now I'm sharing it with you. So I took in a black magic box with drawers that had been full of chocolates, and we made this into a doll's bed. It was lovely, and I still have a penchant to do another one today. Thankfully, I've got over that, because I was going to do a little one and do it with all Mum's little bits and have a little mouse in it, but I don't want to anymore. I've got over that. I make quilts, goodness knows what, and I'm pleased to have, told myself to do it and then said I don't want to. Anyway, I didn't much want to do it at school. We hand-stitched the sheets, made the blankets and eiderdown together with a little pillow. Inside the drawers at the bottom were spare sheets and blankets. I wish I'd kept it. It was the smallness of it I liked, and the hand sewing. I make large quilts today, sewing them completely by hand. One time we had to make a dress, and I hated this as it seemed far too difficult for me. In the end, Mum sewed it for me at the last minute, probably the night before I had to hand it in. When I took it in for final inspection, I was slated by my teacher for very untidy work, and the comment, I should be ashamed. That'll teach me, I thought, standing there apologising. How could I tell her that I didn't do it, that it was Mum's work? I mean, I did some of it, but Mum finished it off for me. We did it together on the machine. I mean, but I was supposed to do all French seams and all of that, I think. Outside it looked fine, but inside it was a mess, with the seams unfinished and threads hanging. When I came home and told Mum she was now bottom of the class, she laughed. We didn't really mind. Yeah, it wasn't something I was desperately interested to do then. I soon grew into doing that. When I was first married, I made everything. I made it by hand. I didn't have a machine. I made all the stuff for my girls, made Peter's shirt. I just made everything I loved it. But that was doing it under my own steam, wasn't it? It's different at school. Well, it was different for me. Maybe it wasn't different for you. And so the last chapter of my school life began. Diz was my friend who I saw after school, and all the girls in my class became friends and would sometimes come back for tea. It's true. The school had an atmosphere about it. We all got on. We only had one class per year. We were all in together, girls. We went up the next year. So basically we did our whole school time together. And I got on with everyone. And they got on with me, I think. I never had anybody say anything horrible to me, or no worries about things like that. Our school motto was by love, serve one another. And I think I felt that at the school. There was this, let's be kind, which is lovely. Anyway, they would sometimes come back for tea. Some of them lived in enormous houses. They did, which would be worth millions now. I'm telling you, millions. And others lived modestly. But as a young girl, I was never fazed or impressed by the large houses or looked down on the small ones. Honestly, to me, I don't know. It's a gift, I think. I've never been judgmental about what people have got or what they haven't got or their background. I was just a young girl with friends and, just got on with everyone. They were just places my friends lived in. I was much more interested in them as people, and I grew up to be the same. Yeah, I was a masseur, I was a counsellor. I've always been interested in people, people's backgrounds, how people feel. Yeah, and I think I was then as a young person. It's people that matter to me, not property or possessions. Along the road from the school was a row of small cottages, and one of them had been turned into a sweet shop. Oh, it was gorgeous, this gorgeous little cottage. And stepped down, front door, and the front room was a sweet shop. On a recent visit, well, it's not so recent now, I wrote this in 2013, I found the place to be run down, and the only evidence it had been a sweet shop was a C stuck to the window. Maybe the C was part of the word chocolate. I can't remember. I generally went in after school and bought a frozen jubbly, some long licorice filled with sherbet lemon, or a huge pyramid of honeycomb. Oh, that honeycomb. Oh, I still love it now. We weren't allowed to eat in the street in our school uniform, and so we would wait until we turned the corner and started to climb up Bourne Hill. It was quite a hill before we ventured to eat our goodies. Friendships were forged during the walk home, and one girl I was particularly friendly with was Jane. She lived in a beautiful, wide, tree-lined road which led to Groveland's Park. So I could either choose to walk home along her road, which was a little bit longer. It was a beautiful road with Groveland's Park on the right, or I could walk up this steep hill, which was much quicker. And I sort of alternated it depending on how she was getting home. Mostly us girls, we all walked home, walked there and walked home. Every house in Broadwalk was enormous, and Jane's even had a small gold lift to take you upstairs. However, all I was concerned about was the fact that we had revolting gold top milk at home, and Jane had red top, skimmed. I asked Mum if we could change, but the answer was no. Life seemed better at Jane's, not because of the beautiful house, but to have red top on my cornflakes and in my tea. I still hate creamy milk. It was at a Christmas party Jane held that I experienced my first kiss, but that comes later. We'll leave it there for this week. Quite a lot of memories brought up there. Yeah, of course, I found out that I have an intolerance to milk now, so that's probably why I didn't like the creamy stuff. And I just couldn't believe that. Well, I just thought there was that red top, that gold top, but Jane had the red top. Get my tops all muddled up now. Anyway, that was what was interesting to me. And somehow she was, I don't know, she was a good friend. I remember once she said her sister had the Beatles coming to visit her. And I was so excited. We all were. Anyway, it turned out they didn't come, but that was quite an exciting moment for a short while. Yeah, I look back, I wonder where she is now. I had some good friends. I was happy at school, but not academic. And not particularly wanting to make my own dresses at that time. But there we are. It's all part of life's tapestry, isn't it? I was happy. I lived in my new house. I had a friend across the road, and we got up to a few things. Hobbies. She was a great one for hobbies. We made a film. That'll all come later. So, yeah, we'll leave it there. So there we are. I've started my new school. I've made some good friends. I've worked out the way there and back. And it's working out. It's working out well. Very happy at home. I love my new house. And it was a difficult time for Mum and Dad. Dad had started his own business and decorating all the house. And then there were times when that business was very, very lean. And my mum and dad, they come from such difficult background, really. Mum lost her mum when she was 17, and not much later her dad. And, when Mum got married, she had nothing. She didn't have a cupboard. She had a small back room which happened to have a cooker in it. But my dad made a sink to put on the landing, 3 floors up, with me taking the pram up and down. It was hard. And Mum and Dad never lost sight of that. They celebrated cupboards and refrigerators. We had cupboard day and refrigerator day because they never lost sight of it. So although Dad was working hard, my goodness, was my dad a hard worker. He worked hard at getting his business going, day and night, really. And there were times when it was really difficult, but they still kept me at the school. And it must have been a huge sacrifice for them. But there we are. I was happy, and I think that's what they were most concerned about, which was lovely. So I hope you indulge me. The film this week's a little bit different. It starts off, well, it's February 2021, and we've just come out of February 2025. And I found this little clip, and I remember the sun was shining and we had a little bit of snow on the ground, which is very, very unusual for us. Here in the southeast of England, right by the sea, we very rarely get snow. We haven't had it this year at all. But in 2021, we had this snow, and it was quite exciting. And as it was coming down, I'd said to Pete, will you hoover the conservatory? And he was hoovering the conservatory and singing. And I don't know if you'll indulge me, it's just a pleasant bit of film in my memory of Pete singing a song that he loves. And then I walked down to the bottom of the garden, which, looking out here, I haven't got any more. The chicken coop is gone, the shed is gone. Well, it was falling down really. But the guys who cut our trees, they took it down. Didn't take them long, but it's not there. No chickens, and it's a little film of the chickens in the snow. Then after that, I walked to the opticians this morning, and there was a tree in bloom. Spring is coming, but of course the birds are in the tree stripping it. So I'm going to put that up at the end. So that wasn't then, that is now, today. And I think that's it. So I'm going to say cheerio, and thanks so much for joining me. It really does mean a lot. And I so enjoy your company and all your lovely comments. And I'll see you when I see you. So take great care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
That's what dreams are made of. Hold it in your hand. Standing on a shipwreck, finding peace of land. Oh, that's what dreams are made of. Here is where you dwell, walking in the desert. Catch a glimpse of well, and in the line of expectation,
some hot porridge
of what the future holds,
corn,
to look
wheat germ.
that glitters.
It's lovely and warm for them. Oh, they love it.
Where ordinary people will just
You love it, girls, don't you? Yes, you do. You love it.
to live.
All eat well together, girls. The roof's full up with snow. It looks like it's going to fall down.
A summer wind, a peace of mind. The birds that sing,
What's happening?
the undefined, the ground beneath